The Mercy Mission. The medical station Haven's light hung suspended in the void like a gleaming beacon of hope, its white hull stretching nearly 3 kilometers from bow to stern. Red crosses painted along its sides caught the light from the binary stars of Kepler 186, marking it clearly as a place of healing in a galaxy torn by endless conflicts. Dr. Sarah Chen stood at the observation deck of the primary medical bay, watching another transport ship approach their docking port. The vessel bore the distinctive blue markings of the Alteran Republic, but its hull was scarred by plasma burns and debris impacts. "Another full load incoming, Doctor," announced Nurse Alex Thompson, approaching with a medical tablet clutched in his steady hands. Despite working for 18 straight hours, his voice remained calm and professional. "The transport captain reports they have 47 critical cases aboard, mostly civilians caught in the border raids." Sarah nodded, her experienced eyes already calculating bed space and resource allocation. Haven's light was operating at 92% capacity, but they had never turned away a patient in the station's 5-year operational history. The medical facility was humanity's greatest contribution to galactic peace, a neutral zone where beings from any species could receive treatment regardless of their origin or the conflicts raging between their governments. Captain Marcus Rodriguez appeared at her shoulder, his weathered face showing the strain of command. "Dr. Chen, we're receiving some concerning communications from Earth Command. Intelligence suggests the Korvaxi Empire is becoming increasingly hostile toward our medical operations." "Let them complain," Sarah replied firmly. "We're not taking sides in their war. We're saving lives. That Alteran child we treated last week had the same right to live as the Korvaxi soldier we operated on yesterday." The docking clamps engaged with a satisfying thunk that vibrated through the station's superstructure. Within moments, the familiar chaos of a medical emergency began unfolding. Stretcher teams rushed forward with practiced efficiency, their movements coordinated despite the exhaustion that marked every face on the station. The airlock hissed open, revealing the interior of the transport ship packed with wounded beings. The first patient through was a young Alteran female, her normally luminescent blue skin pale and flickering weakly. Her kind communicated through bioluminescent patterns, but trauma had disrupted her natural light emissions. Sarah immediately recognized the signs of severe neural shock, a condition that could be fatal if not treated within hours. "Trauma Bay 3, she called out, following the stretcher team down the corridor. "Alex, prep the neural stabilizer and get me 50 kg of lumina hydroxide compound. We need to restart her light pattern matrix before permanent damage sets in." The medical bay hummed with quiet activity as teams of human doctors and nurses worked alongside their alien counterparts. Haven's light employed medical professionals from 12 different species, creating a unique environment where knowledge and techniques were shared freely. The air recyclers worked overtime to accommodate various atmospheric requirements, creating a complex mixture that somehow managed to keep everyone breathing comfortably. In Surgery Room 5, Dr. Chen found herself working on the young Alteran female alongside Dr. Keth Zora, one of the few Alteran physicians in the galaxy. The patient's bioluminescent organs were failing one by one, her life force literally dimming before their eyes. "In my culture, we believe the light patterns carry our souls," Dr. Zora explained as she carefully manipulated the delicate neural pathways. "If the light dies completely, the person cannot return to consciousness. Your human medicine has found ways to restart what we thought was impossible to restore." Sarah's hands moved with practiced precision, inserting microstimulators into the patient's neural cortex. "Every species has something unique to offer medical science. Your people taught us about bioluminescent healing. The Korvaxi showed us regenerative bone therapy. The Veltheri demonstrated crystalline surgery techniques. When we work together, we can save lives that would be lost otherwise." Hours passed as they worked to stabilize the young Alteran. Around them, the medical bay continued its ceaseless activity. Human doctors collaborated with alien specialists, sharing techniques and knowledge that transcended political boundaries. A Korvaxi surgeon worked alongside a human nurse to repair a shattered limb. A Veltheri crystalline healer taught human medics how to treat silicon-based life forms. The diversity of patients was staggering. Humans injured in mining accidents worked alongside former enemies recovering from battle wounds. Children of various species played together in the pediatric ward while their parents received treatment. The station had become more than a medical facility. It was proof that different civilizations could coexist peacefully when focused on healing rather than fighting. As the shift changed, Sarah finally found a moment to rest in her quarters. Through her viewport, she could see the distant flashes of weapons fire from the ongoing conflict between the Alteran Republic and the Korvaxi Empire. Both sides regularly brought their wounded to Haven's Light, sometimes arriving simultaneously. The medical staff had developed protocols for keeping opposing forces separated during recovery, but most patients were too grateful to be alive to cause trouble. Her peaceful moment was interrupted by an urgent communication from Captain Rodriguez. "Dr. Chen, please report to the command center immediately. We have a situation developing." The command center's main display showed a tactical view of the local space around Haven's Light. Sarah's heart sank as she saw the red dots representing military vessels approaching from multiple vectors. 12 Korvaxi battle cruisers were moving into attack formation around the medical station. "They're not responding to our hails," Captain Rodriguez reported grimly. Standard protocol would be to request permission before approaching a medical facility, but they're maintaining communication silence. Sarah activated the emergency broadcast system, transmitting on all frequencies. "This is Dr. Sarah Chen, Chief Medical Officer of Haven's Light Medical Station. We are operating under Galactic Medical Accords Article 7. This facility is neutral territory dedicated to healing. We currently have patients from 17 different species aboard, including Korvaxi citizens." The response came from Admiral Thex himself, the Korvaxi military commander whose forces had been fighting the Alterans for 3 years. His voice was cold and mechanical through the translation matrix. "Dr. Chen, your species has interfered in galactic affairs for the last time. You heal our enemies and send them back to fight us. You provide comfort to those who would destroy our civilization. Admiral, we provide medical care to anyone who needs it," Sarah replied desperately. "We have 47 Korvaxi patients currently recovering in our wards. We've saved thousands of your people over the years." "Weakness?" Admiral Thex declared. "Your medicine makes the galaxy soft. Today that ends." The first plasma salvo hit Haven's Light like the wrath of gods themselves. The medical station's deflector shields, designed only to protect against space debris and cosmic radiation, lasted exactly 8 seconds under concentrated military-grade weapons fire. Brilliant energy cascaded across the white hull, scorching the red medical crosses and turning sections of the outer armor into molten slag. Throughout the station, medical personnel continued their work even as the structure shuddered around them. In Trauma Bay 7, Nurse Thompson maintained his grip on a surgical tool as sparks showered from damaged ceiling panels. His patient, a young Korvaxi soldier injured in the same raids that had brought the Alteran refugees, looked up at him with compound eyes wide with fear. "We're going to get through this," Thompson promised, though the ship's artificial gravity was fluctuating as power systems failed. "I've seen your kind heal from worse injuries than this." In the pediatric ward, human doctors shielded alien children with their own bodies as blast shutters descended over the viewports. The youngsters came from 7 different species, but fear and confusion looked the same on every face. Dr. Lisa Park, the head of pediatrics, gathered them into the center of the ward where the structural supports were strongest. "It's going to be all right," she told them in the common tongue, though she knew many couldn't understand. Some of the older children translated for the younger ones, creating a chain of comfort that transcended species barriers. The second wave of attacks targeted the station's life support systems. Korvaxi fighters danced through space with deadly precision, their pilots coordinating their assault with hive mind efficiency. Plasma bolts and particle beams converged on critical junction points, systematically crippling Haven's Light's ability to maintain atmosphere and artificial gravity. In the main medical bay, Dr. Chen made a decision that would define her final moments. As emergency bulkheads began sealing to contain atmospheric breaches, she saw a ward full of patients who couldn't be moved. 37 beings from 8 different species lay in critical care pods, their life support systems dependent on the station's main power grid. "I'm staying with them," she told Captain Rodriguez over the emergency comm system. "If the power goes down, someone needs to manually maintain their life support." "Sarah, the structure is failing," Rodriguez pleaded. "The evacuation shuttles are launching now." But she was already moving, checking each patient's status and adjusting their life support systems for manual operation. Among them was the young Alteran female she had saved earlier, her bioluminescent patterns now glowing steadily thanks to the treatment she had received. The patient's eyes focused on Dr. Chen with clear recognition and gratitude. The final torpedo impact came from Admiral Thex's flagship, striking the station's central support beam. Haven's Light began breaking apart, its massive structure snapping under impossible stresses. Emergency cameras, their feeds automatically transmitted to rescue beacons, captured the final moments of humanity's greatest medical achievement. Dr. Sarah Chen died at her post, her hand still adjusting a life support monitor for a Corvaxi patient. Around her, other human medical personnel made similar choices, prioritizing their patients' lives over their own survival. The footage would later show human doctors shielding alien patients, nurses carrying wounded beings to escape pods, and medical staff working frantically to save lives even as the station disintegrated around them. Haven's Light died 43 minutes and 17 seconds after the first shot was fired. Of the 15,000 medical personnel aboard, only 834 made it to functional escape pods. The station's final transmission came from Captain Rodriguez himself, broadcasting patient medical records and emergency treatment instructions until the command center's hull integrity failed. The massacre was complete, but the story was just beginning. Across the galaxy, civilizations watched in horror as rescue footage revealed the truth of what had happened. Medical personnel from dozens of species had died together, united in their final moments by a common dedication to healing. The images of human doctors dying to protect alien patients would soon spark something the Corvaxi Empire never anticipated. Admiral Thex stood in his command center, watching tactical displays show the successful completion of what he had designated Operation Clean Sweep. His officers clicked and chittered in approval as Haven's Light's transponder signal went dark permanently. "Excellent work," Thex announced to his assembled staff. "The human medical advantage has been eliminated. Without their field hospitals and treatment centers, the galaxy will return to natural selection. The strong will survive, and the weak will perish as nature intended." The celebration lasted for hours, with traditional Corvaxi victory songs echoing through the command ship. They believed they had struck a decisive blow against the soft-hearted species that had been weakening the galaxy with their compassion. In their minds, they had eliminated a threat to the natural order of things. But 15,000 human healers had died in the void, and Earth was about to show the galaxy what happened when you struck down those who dedicated their lives to saving others. The Corvaxi would soon learn that humanity's greatest strength wasn't their medicine. It was their ability to be both the most compassionate healers and the most terrifying warriors the galaxy had ever seen. The Reaper's Wake. The news of Haven's Light reached Earth 72 hours after the massacre, transmitted through quantum relay stations across 3 star systems. Dr. James Mitchell, one of the few survivors, stood before the Earth Defense Council in Geneva, his medical uniform still bearing scorch marks from the station's final moments. The recording he had recovered from the emergency beacons played on screens throughout the chamber, showing the last moments of humanity's greatest medical achievement. "They gave us no warning," Mitchell testified, his voice steady despite the trauma etched on his face. "Admiral Thex opened fire while we had Corvaxi patients in our operating rooms. Dr. Chen died manually maintaining life support for a ward full of critical patients, including 17 Corvaxi soldiers. 15,437 confirmed dead, Mitchell replied. Medical personnel from 23 different species. The Corvaxi didn't just attack humans, they murdered anyone who was trying to heal their own people. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. This wasn't just an attack on Earth's medical mission. It was an assault on the fundamental concept of healing itself. For the first time in human history, the galaxy would see what happened when Earth's compassion turned to righteous fury. President Amanda Foster stood at the podium, her words broadcast to every human colony and station throughout known space. Today, we mourn the loss of 15,000 heroes who died protecting patients they had sworn to heal. Tomorrow, we ensure that such a massacre never happens again. The response was unlike anything in human history. Within 48 hours, every Earth Defense Force facility received more volunteers than they could process. But this wasn't a general mobilization. Earth Command had something specific in mind. Deep in the classified levels of Luna Station, a project that had been theoretical for decades suddenly received unlimited funding and priority status. Colonel Diana Hawks had been developing advanced combat units for special operations when the news from Haven's Light arrived. Her Reaper program combined humanity's most advanced military technology with tactical doctrines specifically designed for precision strikes against technologically superior enemies. The Reapers were Earth's answer to the galaxy's assumption that humans were too soft for serious warfare. The Corvaxi think we're weak because we save lives, Hawks explained to her assembled team of specialists. They're about to learn that the same dedication we put into healing, we can put into hunting. Engineer Ryan Park had been working on revolutionary stealth and targeting systems when he received his new assignment. His technology could make human ships virtually invisible to conventional sensors while providing targeting accuracy that surpassed anything in the galaxy. The irony wasn't lost on him. He was weaponizing the same precision technology that had made human surgery legendary. The Reapers will be ghosts, Park explained to Admiral Vasquez during the final briefing. They'll appear where the enemy least expects, strike with surgical precision, and vanish before retaliation is possible. We're not building a fleet to fight their navy. We're building hunters to eliminate their command structure. The first Reaper deployment launched from Luna Station exactly 100 hours after Haven's Light was destroyed. 12 ships, each no larger than a corvette, but packed with humanity's most advanced technology, slipped past Corvaxi patrol fleets without being detected. Their mission parameters were specific: eliminate military leadership, destroy strategic installations, and broadcast footage of the Haven's Light massacre during every engagement. Admiral Thex first became aware of the human response when his forward command post at Kepler 442 simply vanished. The Space Fortress, which had coordinated Corvaxi military operations across 17 star systems, ceased all communications during what should have been a routine shift change. When reconnaissance ships arrived 6 hours later, they found only expanding clouds of debris. How is this possible? Thex demanded of his intelligence officers. The humans have no military presence in this sector. Their nearest fleet is 3 systems away. The answer came 12 hours later when the Corvaxi Naval Academy at Proxima 7 suffered the same fate. This time, however, the attackers left behind something unexpected: a message beacon broadcasting the final moments of Haven's Light, showing human doctors dying to protect Corvaxi patients. Colonel Hawks monitored the operation from her command ship, watching as Reaper teams systematically dismantled the Corvaxi military infrastructure. Each strike was precisely calculated to minimize civilian casualties while maximizing psychological impact. The message was clear: humanity could eliminate military targets with the same precision they had once used to save lives. Target acquired, reported Reaper 7, the team assigned to eliminate a major weapons manufacturing facility. Minimal civilian presence detected. All personnel appeared to be evacuating the area. Confirmed, Reaper 7, Hawks responded. Execute Operation Scalpel. Remember, we're surgeons, not butchers. The facility's destruction was a masterpiece of controlled demolition. The Reapers had studied the station's construction plans, identifying exactly which supports to destroy to cause a complete collapse, while allowing maximum time for evacuation. The explosion was visible from 3 star systems away, but casualty reports would later show only 17 deaths. All military personnel who had refused evacuation orders. As news of the attacks spread, something unexpected began happening throughout Korvaxi space. Military personnel started abandoning their posts, not from cowardice, but from moral revulsion. The footage of human doctors dying to protect Korvaxi patients had been broadcast during every Reaper strike, and many Korvaxi soldiers were learning for the first time what had really happened at Haven's Light. Commander Zethkrix had served under Admiral Thex for 8 years, but the footage of Dr. Sarah Chen dying to save a Korvaxi patient while the station burned around her shattered his loyalty completely. When his unit received orders to attack another human medical facility, he made a decision that would change the course of the war. "I cannot follow this order," he announced to his crew. "We are warriors, not murderers of healers. Admiral Thex has brought dishonor to our entire species." The mutiny spread like wildfire through the Korvaxi fleet. Ship after ship abandoned their positions, with many actively broadcasting their refusal to participate in attacks on medical facilities. Some commanders attempted to maintain discipline through force, only to find their own officers turning against them. Admiral Thex found himself fighting a war on 2 fronts, against the invisible human Reapers who struck without warning, and against his own forces who increasingly refused to follow orders they considered dishonorable. His empire was crumbling from within as the footage of human sacrifice played on every communication channel. The final confrontation came at the Korvaxi home system, where Thex had retreated with the remnants of his loyal forces. The Reapers appeared without warning, their ships materializing from apparent empty space to surround the Admiral's flagship. But instead of opening fire, they transmitted a message that would become legendary throughout the galaxy. Admiral Thex came the voice of Colonel Hawks, her words broadcast on all frequencies. "You murdered 15,000 healers who died protecting your own people. We could destroy your ship and every vessel in your fleet. But we're not like you. We don't slaughter those who surrender." The offer was unprecedented in galactic warfare. The humans, who had demonstrated their ability to eliminate any target they chose, were offering mercy to the beings who had committed the worst atrocity in recent galactic history. However, Hawks continued, "You will face justice for your crimes. Surrender now, and your crews will receive medical treatment for their injuries. We have hospital ships standing by." The irony was perfect. The species that Thex had tried to eliminate for being too compassionate was offering medical aid to their enemies. Some of his officers began laughing, not from humor, but from the sheer absurdity of trying to destroy beings whose response to massacre was to offer healing. Admiral Thex himself remained defiant until the end, choosing to activate his ship's self-destruct rather than face trial for his crimes. But his crews, many of whom had been horrified by the footage from Haven's Light, accepted the human offer. Korvaxi soldiers who had been indoctrinated to believe humans were weak found themselves receiving medical treatment from the same species they had been taught to despise. Dr. James Mitchell, survivor of Haven's Light, volunteered to serve aboard the hospital ships, treating captured Korvaxi personnel. As he worked to save the life of a young Korvaxi officer, the patient looked up at him with compound eyes full of confusion and shame. "Why do you heal us?" the officer asked through his translator. "We destroyed your medical station. We killed your people." Mitchell paused in his work, remembering Dr. Chen's final moments. "Because that's who we are," he replied simply. "We heal because healing is right, regardless of who needs it. The moment we stop being healers is the moment we become like Admiral Thex." The war ended not with a massive battle, but with a treaty signed in what had once been the ruins of Haven's Light. The galaxy's major civilizations established the Galactic Medical Protection Accord, with Earth as its primary enforcer. The agreement was simple. Medical facilities were sacred, medical personnel were inviolate, and any attack on healers would be met with swift and overwhelming retaliation. But more importantly, the galaxy had learned something fundamental about humanity. They were capable of extraordinary compassion, dedicating their lives to healing beings from any species, but they were equally capable of extraordinary precision when that compassion was threatened. The same hands that performed delicate surgery could guide weapons with deadly accuracy. The same minds that developed life-saving treatments could devise military strategies that dismantled entire empires. Commander Zeth Krix, now serving as a liaison between Korvaxi rehabilitation efforts and human medical programs, summarized it best in his report to the Galactic Council. "We thought humans were weak because they chose to heal rather than harm. We failed to understand that anyone capable of such dedication to preserving life would be equally dedicated to protecting it. They are healers by choice, but killers by necessity. The galaxy is safer with them as guardians of mercy rather than agents of war." The new medical stations that replaced Haven's Light were protected by discreet Reaper units, invisible guardians who ensured that no healer would ever again die defenseless in the void. The message was clear to anyone who might consider attacking medical personnel. Earth would respond with the same precision and dedication they'd brought to healing, but applied to the art of war. The Reapers had awakened, and the galaxy was learning that humanity's greatest strength wasn't their compassion or their fury. It was their ability to be both when the situation demanded it. The healers were protected, and those who would harm them had been reminded that some species could be angels of mercy and harbingers of death with equal skill. In the end, Admiral Thex had been wrong about one crucial thing. Humanity's medicine hadn't made the galaxy soft. It had made the galaxy safer, because anyone who threatened those dedicated to preserving life would face those equally dedicated to protecting it. The age of the Reapers had begun, and mercy would never again be defenseless.